NHL player nicknames are anything but normal. From the Gravy Train, to the Breadman, to the Cookie Monster, these names are as unique and memorable as the players themselves. The first name we're breaking down is a great one, as in the Great One, Wayne Gretzky. Long before Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson started lifting the name as his own.
The Great One! The Great One!
There was the original Great One, a Canadian icon who holds an insane 61 NHL records, including most goals scored all time, and most goals scored in a single season with 92. Gretzky appeared in an unbelievable 18 NHL All-Star games, just 5 shy of the all-time record held by Red Wings legend Gordie Howe, who went by the name Mr. Hockey. But Gordie was more than a hockey player. He was the hockey player, hailed as the most complete player to ever play the game. And wow, did he play! Competing in 32 NHL seasons, spanning 5 decades before finally retiring at the age of 52. Coincidentally, that's the same age as the Pittsburgh Penguins' great Jaromir Jagr, who announced in September he'll finally be retiring from the game at the end of the season. Jagr played professional hockey for an unbelievable 37 straight seasons, truly living up to his moniker as the Ageless Wonder. In 2006, he became the oldest NHL player to score 50 goals in a season.
Here comes Jagr down low, and he scores! Number 50!
But is best known for his 11 seasons with the Penguins, leading them to back-to-back Stanley Cup championships in 91 and 92. But who was Jagr's partner in crime during those championship runs? None other than Hall of Famer Mario Lemieux, who fans still affectionately call Super Mario, after the iconic video game character. Both Marios started lighting up television screens in the mid-1980s, with Super Mario Bros. For the NES selling out at stores everywhere, and credited with resurrecting the entire video game industry following the collapse of Atari. Meanwhile, Lemieux was busy resurrecting the Pittsburgh Penguins, a franchise teetering on the brink of bankruptcy. But just like his pixelated counterpart, Lemieux was a game changer from the word go. On his very first shift, he stole the puck from Hall of Famer Ray Borg and quickly scored his first professional goal. From there, his legend status continued to jump to new heights, delivering the Penguins 2 Stanley Cups as a player, then 3 more as the Pens owner. Still to this day, Super Mario is the only man in history with his name on the cup both as a player and an owner. But if we're handing out credit for Pittsburgh's 3 most recent pieces of hardware, a huge chunk of it has to go to Sidney Crosby, better known as Sid the Kid. Crosby earned the nickname because he was still a kid when the Pens drafted him #1 overall at just 17 years old. 10 All-Star appearances, 3 Stanleys, and 2 league MVPs later. At 37, Crosby is far from anyone mistaking him for a kid, and yet the nickname remains, as does his dominance in the league. In fact, ESPN recently ranked Crosby as the #1 greatest NHL player of the 21st century. #2 on that list just so happens to be the next player on our list, fellow #1 draft pick Alex Ovechkin. The Russian phenomenon is a certified scoring machine and one of the hardest grinding players to ever lace up his skates. Yet Ovi rocks what some call the most mundane, totally mailed-in nickname in NHL history. Sure, it's a little basic, just a slightly modified way of saying the first 3 letters of his last name. However, plenty of fans agree Ovi fits perfectly. Simple, no nonsense, just like Ovechkin himself. But if Ovi still doesn't sit right with you, feel free to go with his backup, more regal moniker, Alexander the Great. Rest assured, Ovi's cool with that one too. Now on the flip side, fellow Russian Pavel Bure has a nickname approved by all. Well, maybe not Ukrainian hockey fans, but still, the Russian Rocket perfectly captured Bure's blazing speed and explosive scoring during his 12-year Hall of Fame career, which among other accolades included Rookie of the Year honors in 1992. 1 year later, the 1993 Rookie of the Year went to Teemu Selanne, who was also gifted one of the game's greatest nicknames, the Finnish Flash.
I'm the Flash, the fastest man alive.
Selanne, just like the popular DC superhero, was lightning fast, with almost superhuman reflexes. Every time he touched the puck, it was as if he was bending the laws of physics. Pop culture and movie icons have inspired some of the game's greatest nicknames, transforming players into larger-than-life personalities with amazing alter egos to match. When Brent Burns was first growing his now iconic beard, teammates said he was starting to look like Chewbacca. For this monster Star Wars fan, this was all the encouragement Burns needed to officially make the character all his own. And he did so with a splash. During All-Star Weekend in 2016, Burns slipped on an actual Chewbacca mask before blasting the puck into the back of the net.
Bang! Chewie buries it.
Fans have called Burns Chewbacca ever since. Then there's first-round pick Dan Briere, who, thanks to a wildly overly enthusiastic TV announcer, earned the nickname Cookie Monster.
Chocolate chip cookie mean whole lot to me.
After one of Briere's signature top-shelf goals, the announcer declared it was netted up where Mama hides the cookies. And just like that, the Cookie Monster was born. The name was fitting, considering the famous Sesame Street character's insatiable appetite for cookies, while the 2017 All-Star MVP had a healthy appetite for goals. Staying with pop culture-based nicknames, say hello to Leo Komarov. Toronto broadcasters were quick to refer to Leo as Uncle Leo, after the popular Seinfeld character. The name caught on with fans, who would chant Uncle Leo after every goal. The best part? Komarov loved the nickname despite never watching Seinfeld, and not understanding the reference in the slightest.
Leo, do you watch Seinfeld at all? And if so, do you know who Uncle Leo is?
No, I don't. And it's actually funny. I don't know why, but sounds pretty funny.
Then there's goalie Peter Budaj, a devout Christian who liked going by the name Ned Flanders. Yes, that Ned Flanders from The Simpsons. Unlike Uncle Leo, Budaj knew exactly who fans were chanting about following a big save. That's because Budaj proudly rocked artwork of the quirky, good-natured, Jesus-loving Flanders character right on his goalie mask. The tough-as-nails Slovak sporting the face of perhaps the least intimidating character in television history made for quite the visual. But why? Was it all part of some elaborate joke? No, Budaj just genuinely loved the goofy Simpsons character, saying he appreciated seeing a fellow man of faith represented on television, even if that man was a yellow cartoon character with a ridiculous mustache. Well, from the divine to the demonic, this Seattle Kraken player's nickname embraces the truly dark and diabolical, coupled with a little bit of wordplay. Maybe you know WWE Hall of Fame superstar The Undertaker. Well, defenseman Vince Dunn certainly does. Known for his intense, hard-fitting style on the ice. Similar to The Undertaker's aggression in the ring, it didn't take long for fans to start calling Vince Dunn the Dundertaker. With both heavy-fisted pros always ready to throw it down, Dunn's nickname couldn't be more perfect. But real-life Undertaker isn't a Seattle fan. He reps the Nashville Predators, home to 21-year-old forward Zachary LaRue, who fans have been calling the Mustard Tiger ever since going viral in 2023 for this. Amazing! Dude wants water and the trainer slips him a bottle of mustard as a goof, right? No, LaRue had leg cramps, and apparently mustard is a legit remedy for the pain. Okay, but that still doesn't make his reaction to the mustard, or the nickname that's sure to follow him forever, any less hilarious. Not sure if former Golden Knight Phil Kessel is a mustard or ketchup guy when it comes to hot dogs, but when he was with the Maple Leafs, a reporter claimed Phil was hitting the arena concession stands and picking out on hot dogs. Kessel called the story totally bogus, but that couldn't stop his teammates from immediately calling him Hot Dog Boy, while fans turned Kessel into a massive meme on social media. Years later, fresh off his second Stanley Cup win with the Pens, Kessel scored the ultimate last laugh, trolling all the haters by posing with a cup stuffed to the brim with hot dogs. The tradition of players roasting players through nicknames is a pastime that runs deep in the NHL. 15 years ago, when Jamie Benn was drafted by Dallas, he was a little on the heavy side, so, of course, his teammates wasted no time dubbing the young rookie Chubbs. Ben has slimmed down since joining the league, but it's unlikely he'll ever shake the Chubbs nickname. Then there's Blackhawks great Jonathan Toews, a guy who's done it all. 3-time Stanley Cup champ, 6-time All-Star. What could anyone clown him for? Well, apparently, Toews' pursuit of excellence, coupled with his no-nonsense leadership style, was a bit of a buzzkill for some of his teammates, who then branded the Chicago legend Captain Serious.
Why so serious?
Great question, Heath Ledger's Joker. That was just his style. Tabs was quiet, never the rah-rah cheerleader type. He let his performance on the ice do the talking for him. Now, Hall of Famer Dave Anderchuk, he was a talker. But that has nothing to do with why his nickname was, wait for it, Wood. Anderchuk was an all-time great with few flaws in his game. But if you had to pick one, it was his speed, or lack thereof. The joke was that he moved as fast as Wood, which for the record, Wood, not fast. Sticking with plant life nicknames, next up is 3-time Art Ross Trophy winner Guy Lafleur, who teammates called the Flower. But before thinking this was just another playful jab among teammates, in truth, the late great French-Canadian Guy Lafleur's last name literally translates to the flower. And with his elegant, graceful skating style, the flower wasn't just a good fit, it was a bouquet of perfection. Now, spell flower the other way, and you get the main ingredient behind Ranger Artemi Panarin's nickname, the Bread Man, who earned this awesome pseudonym for no other reason than his last name sounds similar to Panera Bread, the restaurant chain. Can't make this stuff up. In fact, a lot of nicknames throughout the league stem from straight wordplay, such is the case for Vegas center Ivan Barbashev, who teammates call Barbie. Fans on social media love pointing out that Barbie went and married pretty much a real-life Barbie. There's even a rumor the two Barbies own a pink Malibu Barbie Corvette, but that's probably just a joke. 15-year vet Adam Graves, he was nicknamed the Gravy Train. Graves, gravy, you get it. Toronto's Max Pacioretty, fans call him Pac-Man after the classic 80s video game character. The late Bruins goalie Blaine Latcher, he had one of the best nicknames ever, the Latchnet Monster. Then there's 11-time All-Star Chris Chelios, who local reporters called Honey Nut just because his last name sounded a little too much like the classic breakfast cereal Honey Nut Cheerios. The nickname made perfect sense, but sometimes they don't. Just ask Utah's Nick Bukestad why teammates call him rotisserie chicken. It's likely we'll never know where the name rotisserie chicken came from, but the origins of Ken Lindsman's nickname, the Rat, couldn't be clearer. Some say he looked like a rat, which maybe that's true, but the name had more to do with his annoying and pesky playing style. The longtime Flyer had a knack for getting under opponents' skin, often provoking players into dirty plays that landed them into the penalty box. But Lindsman is far from the only player the Rock and Animal Spirited nickname. At 6'4", goalie Sean Burke towered over the net, or maybe let's call it a nest, because his height landed him the nickname Big Bird.
Well, that's just great.
Then there's Pavel Buchnevich of the St. Louis Blues, whose lanky frame earned him the nickname Big Giraffe. Some say he's so tall, he once hit his head trying to walk under the city's famous Gateway Arch. Don't worry though, Big Giraffe shook it off and was back to headbutting opponents the very next day. Smaller players have earned nicknames straight from the zoo too. Take 5'7" Hall of Famer Yvonne Cornway, who fans called the Roadrunner. With his small stature and lightning speed, Roadrunner was considered one of the league's fastest skaters throughout the 60s and 70s. Animal nicknames are so popular, some players have to share the same one. EA Sports NHL 25 cover boy and Canucks captain Quinn Hughes and former Canucks enforcer Donald Brashear both go by Huggy Bear.
Hi, I'm Huggy.
But don't let the cute nickname fool you. Brashear was one of the toughest, most feared players to ever hit the ice. Ranked 5th all-time in penalty minutes, Brashear's nickname came from his grapple-heavy fighting style, where he'd bear hug his opponents before taking them down, hence the name Huggy Bear. Historically, enforcers have had some great nicknames, like Dave Schultz, aka The Hammer. But wow, would Schultz touch and put his hands on opponents. As a key member of the infamous 1970s Philadelphia Flyers Bronze Street Bullies, The Hammer swung some of the nastiest punches you'll ever see on the ice. Alright, let's wrap this list with a few of the all-time classics. Names so iconic they need little backstory. Names like Henrik Lundqvist, whose rookie season was so dominant, Ranger fans dubbed him King Henrik, a name that stuck for the rest of his legendary career. Speaking of dominant goalies, there's the Dominator, Dominik Hasek, whose spectacular play in the net across 16 NHL seasons helped pave the way for future European goaltenders in a league once dominated by North Americans. Red Wings legend Bobby Hull could do it all and is one of the greatest players to ever lace up the skates. He earned global fame as the Golden Jet due to eye-catching blonde hair, exceptional speed, and the ability to rocket the puck to the back of the net at any time he wished. Hall of Famer Henri Richard was another speedy playmaker, nicknamed Pocket Rocket because he was considered a smaller version of his older brother who went by Rocket. Everyone loved Pocket Rocket, which, by the way, if you were to look up Pocket Rocket on Urban Dictionary, you will walk away with several interesting definitions for that name, none of which have to do with hockey, so be careful. Henri won the Stanley Cup an astounding 11 times as a player, the most in NHL history. Wikipedia fun fact, Henri and NBA legend Bill Russell share the all-time record for the most championships won by an athlete in a North American sports league. But hey, let's close it out with a man who gifted us with arguably the greatest reaction to receiving the Stanley Cup in NHL history, Rangers legend Mark Messier. He's the only player to captain 2 different teams to Stanley Cup championships. But it's New York fans who are most likely to refer to Messier as the Messiah, because in '94 he helped the Rangers end their 54-year Stanley Cup drought. It was a feat many thought couldn't happen without help from above. Thankfully, New York had that with the Messiah. From Super Mario the Barbie, Chewbacca the Chubbs, NHL nicknames embody the fun of the game and prove some of the coolest players aren't just made, they're named. Remember, at Face Off, the game never stops, so pound subscribe and keep it locked right here for more top shelf hockey content all season long. Peace!